Yeah, I like the title. Is that the title?
That's not the title, but that's actually
That's
a
kind of hard
company,
though.
right? Well, it's a company that I invested in was Conscious
Uh-huh.
Content, and
Okay.
yeah, so I just like really appreciate like that side of things and like that kind of setup, right? Like having conscious conversations of what's going on rather than just superficial gossip.
Bro, I'm so over it. You don't understand. Like this was one of that reason alone was one of the reasons why I kind of got back into the podcast game. Because like I said, I was doing it but way back in 2016 and just kind of like, you slowly just veer into other things. But when I was looking for content that I needed to feed my mind, I couldn't find it. I was like, dude, everybody's just talking about stuff to surface. Like, can
You
we
know
get into yeah.
what you're saying there, like what feeds your mind or what feeds your
Hmm.
soul,
Yeah.
you know,
Even deeper.
because
Yep.
our mind will eat TikTok up. You know what I
Oh, it
mean?
will.
That's what I say. It's
Oh, it
mind
will.
numbing. It's mind numbing. But it's like
Exactly.
what makes you like actually feel something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I love theater so much, right? Because you can actually feel something, and you're like, whoa, what's going on there? You know, and you have to
What's
like
going on here?
really
Yeah.
open yourself up to what's in front of you.
That's what I feel about good music. And even a good book.
Yes.
Like you can kind of start creating things in your mind and paint a picture and conceptualize. But like you said, social media is so fun. It just overwhelms you because there's so much information. You scroll, you don't know what's right. And then it's designed to evoke emotion and i.e. the negative emotion, either fear or anger. You just like, I need a break. But it's a double-edged sword because you got to use it to promote what you got going on. So it's just like, man, it's a rough one. But anyway, Bailey, man, I'm glad I got you on here, man. I think you and I are gonna have a great conversation. Let's get to it. So listen, man, it's rare when you get an opportunity for someone from a whole nother continent to get the privilege to play American football. But you got the opportunity to play it on a very high level. And from my understanding, you started the sport pretty late in life. Am I clear? Man, take us on this journey, man. How did this happen?
So so growing up, didn't play really any sports. Tried a bunch, didn't really stick to anything. Same way, like I tried a bunch of instruments too, didn't stick to nothing. Like all I cared about was computer games and riding my bike or skateboard to school. That was it. Like I used to go to my friend's house after school. We played Call of Duty. I'd get done. I'd come home. I'd probably jump on a game. You know, like I was cool with it. And I ended up getting an opportunity because one of my mates came to me and was like, "Hey, you know, you should come down and play American football." And I was like, "That sounds really cool." I was like, "But like, I'm gonna get. It's like, is that gonna hurt? Like, I don't really want to get hit." He's like, "It's not bad. You get to wear all these pads." And I was like, "Oh, that's not that bad then, I guess." Here's me, like, I said something to my mum, and I was like, "My friend wants me to come down Footscray. It's kind of far away. It's all this sort of stuff." And she like wanted me to do something rather than just be playing games all the time because she was like,
Yeah.
I don't think this is good."
She's like,
And
just get out the house, right?
literally, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't see a problem with it, right? Of course I didn't. And then she like calls the club team, organizes for me to come down to that practice, like all behind my back. You know, I was like, "Oh, that'd be cool." That's kind of all I said about it. She looked it up, she found it out, she figured out like these are the practice days. This is how you can get there. Like my stepdad George drove me to the practice, like all this sort of stuff. And I remember coming home and she's like, "You still thinking about that?" And I was like, "Yeah, it'd be kind of cool." She's like, "Okay, you're going on Wednesday." I was like, "Huh? What do you mean I'm going on Wednesday?" She's like, I spoke to the coach, like, you're going to be. I was like, I don't. Stepdad went to Rebel Sport. He got me a pair of like Copas or something, like, you know, some random
Yeah.
cheap boot brand. And I was like, "Oh, okay." W Actually, that was the second practice because the first practice I didn't have anything. I wore the coach's boots and he had like a size 10. Like that was the
Wow.
extra boots that he had. So my toes are like crumped up in these shoes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, "This sucks." And then I went back again because when after the first session, I was like, "This is shit." And then I come back and mom was like, "How was it?" With like puppy dog eyes. And I was like, "Oh yeah." "So you going back?" And I was like, "I mean, yeah, like I guess I'll go back."
Right.
I go back on this
Right.
the Saturday practice, but like now I have my boots that fit me. And I was like, "Okay, it's not that bad." But my helmet was like not not really good. It was really, really big. It was like an XL helmet. And dude, like I fit like a medium Riddell with no padding in it. In college, I
Yeah.
wore a large Riddell with padding. And like so that's like I don't have like a huge head. And I was like, okay, that you know, one of the guys gave me a helmet to wear, and I was like, okay, this isn't as bad. And my shoulder pads were like, they were like tie on, like
Bro,
old
this
stuff,
was
right?
straight up Sandlot, bro. Like you just
Sandlot. And then like what it was like senior men's players that these are guys
yeah.
mid-20s that like always had a dream to play American
Yeah.
football, but it's like it's too late for them, right? So instead, they just kind of like would pay into the younger guys, right? Like help them out because they might have a chance. I don't know what that chance looks like. And I remember this guy Lem, like he lent me his shoulder pads, and he's like, because the seasons were different. He's like, just wear them, and then like they're not
Mm-hmm.
gonna get messed up. You can't really break shoulder pads, you know what I mean? Like, but he had a nice pair. It's like a nice pair of
Yeah.
Douglas ones, you know. And I was like, ooh.
Ooh,
And you know how it
yeah.
feels when you like first get like
Yeah.
something nice. You know, you see all those TikToks of the kids and like, what helmet you gonna get? They're like, I'm getting the Revo Speed, and then they get like
Yeah.
the shot, and they're like, you know, like they're sick about it. That's how I felt. And but slowly got more gear, got more things going, and then we started winning games. Mind you, I played cornerback when I first
Dang, a
started playing.
corner, huh?
Had me at
Okay.
corner. I was about 170, 180, like 6'3".
Okay.
All right. I wasn't bad. But also
It's a
like I
tall
wasn't
corner.
bad, but I wasn't bad for 9-on-9 football in Australia. You know what I
Got you.
mean?
Okay.
This is
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like middle of nowhere football, you know, out in
Yeah.
America where there's no dogs out there. You know what I mean? It's not that
Yeah.
it's not super competitive in that sense. And these kids have never played football in their entire life, right?
Right.
They just like know football from watching like highlight tapes and stuff like that. And they didn't start till
Yeah.
they were 16, 17, my age. And yeah, so I played corner, and then I was like, wow, this is fun. I wanted to pursue it and keep going on with it because we started winning. And I was like, whoa, I've never been a part of a winning team. And because I was never really part of a team either. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, whoa, winning's fun. And like we had a good team, the Western Crusaders, and I started drinking the Kool-Aid. Like they would say, like, we are one is like what we like would break down on and all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is like people like actually like care for me. I was like, this is cool. You know what I mean? Like, because it's
Yeah.
like I can produce for them. They're going to help me out. I'm like, this is cool. And so we go and we win. We actually win the league, the 9-on-9 football league in Australia. We win the championship game. And I was like, this is so cool. I was like, I want to play on the senior men's team. You can't play on the senior
Mm-hmm.
men's team unless you're 18, or if they like say it's okay, your parents have to say it's okay and all that sort of stuff. Because literally, like our middle linebacker was our 50-year-old head coach. But now we're playing 11
Goodness.
on 11, and we got a bunch of Islander guys, real big dudes.
Those the big boys, right? Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
boys, right? And
Yeah.
they're like D linemen, but they're like, I want to play running back. Shit, don't just run power, and then I can chill off
Right.
the
Right.
sides. Like
Exactly.
I'm good,
Yeah.
you know. And they're like, nah, just sweep it out to me. I'm like, oh no, I've got to go low on this guy. I was like, this is brutal. But I put on a bunch of weight and started working out with some guys, and I kind of got in with a crew of the guys from the senior men's team that were showing me how to work out and all these sorts of things. And then I actually ended up playing for the Australian team in the Down Under Bowl. And whilst I was over there, Dan Hawkins was one of the coaches. And he was like, you have a great frame for this. I mean, I'm broad,
Yes.
6'4". He's like, you should be like a H
Bro.
back or
Yeah. When
something,
you said 6'3", that's when I knew. I was like, bro, that's easy free safety.
right?
Yeah.
You know, but like, I just wasn't fast, right? He's like, you're not a corner. He's like, no way in heck. He's like, but you need to be closer to the ball. He's like, you need to play like H back or something. He's like, can you
Mm-hmm.
catch? And I was like, I think so, you know? So we like were messing with that. He's like, well, if you can't catch, you could play outside backer or something. And I was like,
Yep.
oh, okay. I was like, maybe. So he had offered me to come stay with him. And I was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. And it ended up kind of getting into there was some like legality issues with high school football in Idaho where they had got done for recruiting and all this sort of stuff. So like it wasn't going to work out. And then Oscar Godsell was at this Australia camp and he was like, hey, he actually said, do you know Bailey Kenter? And I was like, yeah, we all know who Bailey Kenter is. He's like the Aussie kid that played for Monash and is now like in America playing and doing well. He was at LCA. And Oscar's like, well, I'm going to that school. And I was like, whoa, that's cool. He's like, yeah. He got me in contact with Jim Smith.
Got
So
it.
then it was like, whoa, Jim flies out to Australia to come watch me and was like, oh yeah, you're definitely not a corner, but like you have this frame,
Yeah.
like let's see what they'll do. Long story short, obviously go to LCA, the boarding school. I play right tackle
Wait, they put you at right tackle?
because
Even still?
I put some weight on, don't worry.
Okay.
Coach Holt came in the morning with, 6 donuts, 4 for me. You know, I put some weight on. I knew what I was getting myself into, right?
Yeah.
You're not playing corner anymore. But I wanted to punt. Coach Holt was like, nah, you're not punting. You're an O lineman. O linemen don't punt. I said, but I'm good. He's like, are you really? I said, I don't know, but I want to do it.
Right.
And I
You
was like
sold
trying to play.
yourself that position, right?
I was
Yeah.
I was trying to play the Australian card. I'm Australian. Let me punt. He didn't
Right.
want. He didn't want none of it. Why would you? Our free safety, wide receiver, corner are all Australian as well. Those guys are going to punt. So then Bailey gets hurt. So Oscar becomes the punter. Coach, can I punt? No. Oscar gets hurt. So Caleb's the punter. Coach, can I punt? No. Caleb gets hurt. Now the three Aussie dudes aren't playing no more. Just me. I said, Coach, what's going on? We've got one game left against Enterprise. Fine, you
Mhm.
can punt. I punt like a couple balls. It was whatever. I was wearing my O lineman high top cleats, ankles taped. Like,
Yeah.
wasn't very good, but like wasn't bad either. Like it just wasn't like I wasn't hitting, these massive,
So you
massive
didn't even
bombs.
train for it yet?
No, 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 no.
You just wanted to do it. You thought it was cool.
I just thought it was cool because I was like, all these Aussies punt, so I'm like, let me punt. Like if I'm
Yeah.
gonna go to college, like I need to be able to maybe do this. Like I don't think I'm gonna be able to play 1 year of high school football and then have a go. I ended up talking to some coaches at some smaller divisions, and then the highest like conversation that I had was with Southern Utah, and they were looking at me to come for right tackle, and because
Oh,
I
so
I,
you
pl- I
did
was
pretty
playing
good
well,
at tackle though.
yeah, like but
Okay.
for LCA, right? Like you understand like the
Right.
division. I mean, obviously it's like we were like what was it?
Were they 1A or 2A?
I think we were 2A,
Okay. So
but
small ball. Yeah.
either or it's super small, right? But I was
Yeah.
like, I mean, at this point, mind you, like when I started playing, I was like 180. When I was at LCA, I was 260.
Oh,
So like,
that's why.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you
I
six
put
four
on a
two
lot.
sixty. They see the potential. I got you.
They're like, oh, this
Yep.
guy's never touched a weight room. He's never done anything, and he's
Hmm.
already there. So like, there's a chance here, right? The issue with me came down to I was academically ineligible with the NCAA. So there was no pursuing of me from any of these coaches once they found that out, right? And so I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to go back to Australia and train as a right tackle and come back as an offensive lineman. I was like, I need to shift here. And that's when I reached out to Jordan Berry, who was the punter at the Steelers for about 5 years. And he actually played for the Western Crusaders back in Australia, which is that first club team that I played for.
Yep.
And I was like, what'd you do? He told me about Pro Kick Australia. So I went to Pro Kick Australia for an assessment. At this time as well, since I'd come back, I'd started dropping on my weight. All this, I was down to like 230, maybe 240. I was still kind of a little bit chunky. And then they taught me how to punt. And then from there, I would train with them 3-4 times a week and then work out with my guys like Aris and Caleb and Zach. And then we would record a video on like a Friday in Monbulk. And then that video would post on YouTube and then be able to send that to the coaches. And then that video landed me a scholarship to Toledo. So
Okay.
you know,
So wait a minute. I'm getting this straight. So just on a humbug, tried it out when you were about 17. Thought it was fun. Had a friend that was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go play in the States." She was like, "Hey, this would be cool." You get to the States, they make you a lineman. You get how many years of eligibility at LCA first?
6 months of playing. So I only got to
So
play
you
for
played a season. You just played one season.
I rocked up 2 weeks before the first game, played the season out, and then I wasn't allowed to play anything. I wasn't even allowed to be on a basketball team after it. Not that I wanted to, but I was like, oh, it'd be cool to try.
Right.
Get backup or
Okay.
something.
And then after that, you're like, I'm ineligible. But by this time, that's what I was gonna ask you. You caught the bug, the football bug. Like, hey,
I had the itch.
I
You
just
know
want to
what?
be on the field. I just want to be around it. Yeah, go ahead.
I was with Jim last week when I was in Salt Lake,
Yeah,
and I told him I'll never forget this. I remember the conversation at Enterprise High School down in southern Utah,
yeah.
middle of nowhere, one stoplight kind of town.
Hmm.
And we're sitting there at the end of the game. We just lost that knocked us out of the playoffs. And Doyle Holt says, "It's this moment. Majority of you seniors will never put a helmet on ever again in your entire life." And as soon as he said that, I don't remember a single word that he said after that because I wasn't cussing him out, but I blocked him
Yeah,
out completely. And I was like,
yeah,
I'm going to wear this again. I had no idea. And me as this 18-year-old kid, I was sitting there going, I have no idea how I'm going to figure this out. But look at me right now. I'm in Southern Utah playing high school. I just played a high school football season. I didn't even know what this sport was 12 months ago. I'm like,
yeah.
I can do this. Like, I don't know how I can do this, but I like really just had that like unwavering faith in myself. And I was like, I think I can make this happen. And obviously I did. So
Yeah.
that worked out.
Yeah.
But in the moment,
Yeah.
that was just all in. Let's figure it
What
out
was
here.
the game though when you were like, this is the funnest thing I've ever been a part of? Like, if you remember, was it a hit? Was it a punt? Like, what was that it like, man, this is something special here.
Yeah, it was our first kickoff. I think I played right tackle.
Yeah.
Was also like a one on the
Okay. On the
inside
inside. Yep.
on kickoff. So because this is LCA, like you got to play everywhere, big dog. I was playing
Yeah.
D end and shit too,
Yeah.
and I remember hitting a guy, and he like flipped him,
Mm.
and the ball came out, and like we recovered it, and I come off the field, and I like a high five the coach, and he calls me huevos grande. It's like I don't know what that means. Sounds cool though. And then obviously I find out later. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
hilarious. And he's like, welcome to the rest of your life
Yeah.
sort of thing. And I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't really understand that at that time, but there was like so many like little lessons like I always just like cherished and like thought about along the lines. And I was like, well, that was the moment. So like I made that big hit and I was like, well, this is kind of fun. But it was also like
Yeah, man.
the kid got up, right? So
Right.
I wasn't like I made a big hit. I didn't hurt anybody. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
probably hurt his ego a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's the sport we play, right? Like, if you can't get over the ego
Exactly.
side of it, that's why you're not going to be the best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's always somebody that can hand you your ass. You know what I mean? There's always somebody that's gonna give it to you. And I think that's what keep us in. Like what I also want to know, you coming all the way from Australia, which is, I mean, rugby is rough too. It's a man's sport, but how did you what was your I guess I would say, what was your interpretation of just the culture of football?
Yeah. Honestly, like initially it was like it's very arrogant.
Yeah.
Like American sports is very arrogant at first glance when you come from like other sports, I feel like, or just like coming from me personally coming over.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's that in all sports, right? And the reason I say like the arrogant side of it, it's like that showboaty, like there's a lot of that. But like when you start buying into it, it's like you can see why. Because you are you're working every day to play 12 games. So
Yep.
365 days in a year, you're practicing every one of those days minus 12.
Yep.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? To just play 12 games. And it's like, so when you do something good, you deserve to like kind of talk your talk, a little bit,
Yeah.
like that's what I like taunting in sports.
Yeah.
I think it's good. If you've done a good play, you should be able to taunt the person, like grow
Yeah.
up if you've got a problem with that. You know what I mean? Like if you got beat, you got beat, like, and then as a fan watching too, it's like, it's kind of cool. It's super embarrassing for someone to taunt you, but like put yourself in their position, you'd do the same thing.
Exactly.
And people have
And
that
not
moral
to
high
mention,
ground, that they're not going to, but
but I like the way you put it together because, like you said, they prepare their entire life, or not entire life, but the season, postseason, preseason, during the season. Not to mention, you don't get an opportunity to make that many plays to where everyone can see you. So when you finally get that moment, you kind of want to cherish that moment. I didn't look at it that way. You know what I mean? I wasn't a showboat. My coach didn't allow it. However, though, by me playing corner, you man, you kind of got to feel like you're invincible. That position is a head game. You know what I mean? Like the ego, like the odds are against you every single play. You're a target every single play. You know what I mean? And, man, being on, you got to have some nuts to be on the other end of the jumbotron, getting scored on. Getting head tapped, all of that. So
how can you expect anyone to ever believe in you if you don't believe in
if you
yourself?
don't believe in yourself, you're
It's like,
absolutely
so
right.
it's and that we take that in everything in our life. How do you expect somebody to love you if you don't
Yeah,
love yourself? Like there's all of these sorts of things, right? Like
yeah,
we can't expect the world if we're not prepared to give the world.
right.
And it's like you can't expect glory unless you're prepared to put yourself in a position where you have absolute misery. Like I think about like punting, I have had some amazing punts. I remember all of them, right? I remember the bad ones too,
Yep,
and that makes it so
yep.
much sweeter. I remember sitting in Coach Dish's office when Jason Candle walked in and he picks up a phone. He's got a phone. He goes, "Oh, Bailey, I got ESPN on the phone. They wanted to interview you for downing your own punt that went 7 yards." I said, "Thanks." He's just taking, like giving me a hard time. We won the game, so it was a bit of a joke, but like I kicked a pooch punt, my third ever game, into the wind against
Yeah.
East Michigan. The ball flies across the left side of the field, comes back, hits the ground, bounces back. I noticed
Yeah.
that, ran after it. I downed it for a 7-yard
Yeah.
punt. I was like, man, that should
You
have been
got to
a
eat that.
45-yard. I got to eat that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I had some beautiful punts throughout that year too, to where it was
Yeah.
like everyone was hype about it, like,
Yeah.
and all these sorts of things. And like, if you're going to fixate your mind just on the negative stuff,
Hmm.
that's a very
So
egotistical thing to do.
it seems like, and I think this is probably the reason why you were able to be so successful in the sport, because it seems like very early on you understood the principles of the game on how it was going to challenge you both mentally and physically, and that there were no shortcuts to success. And so I think you bought into it early, and which is why you were able to achieve what you were able to achieve. Do you think that was the case, or was it something
No,
different?
no, I know, I agree with that. I think there's like, when we talk about learning, right? Like, what's a quick way
Hmm.
to learn, and a lot of people learn differently and all that sort of stuff. But I personally, I think about like a consequential learning.
Hmm.
So why is it easy? Not easy, but like, why is it like that people can get so good at martial arts? Because if you don't figure it out, you're going to get punched in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
If And that's why the certain sports and things like that, I'm like, okay, like you say, it's like very, very hard, right? Like it's really hard. It's
Yeah.
very mental and all that sort of stuff. You take golf, for instance, like,
Yeah.
very mental sport and things like that. But what's the consequence
What's
of
the
losing?
consequence? Yep.
Yeah, the consequence of losing in football or doing something wrong is somebody can break their leg.
Correct.
And, we think about sports and we think about like, correlation between sports and real life. I think if there was like, like a bell curve or a path, that we're kind of, a spectrum, sorry, is the word I'm looking for. And we have like the military and then day-to-day life. I think
Yeah.
sports is like in the middle, if not leaning towards the
Yep.
right a little bit, right? Because we're
Yep.
giving our
I agree.
body, and some people are giving their life in a sense, if
Right.
because there's certain things that can happen. You're not giving as much as people in the military are giving because they're literally giving their life every
Correct.
single
They make
time.
the ultimate sacrifice.
The
Yeah.
ultimate sacrifice, right? Like, well, we're choosing to just step on this side of the fence.
Yeah.
We're choosing to tread the water a little bit, but we can get out of the pool. They're in the deep end,
Correct.
where
They're in the
everyone
deep
else is
end.
in the kiddie pool, you know?
I always say that sports is the medium between civilian life and military. You know what I mean? I agree because it's the same principles. It is literally the same mindset, to be honest with you. Like I said, the only difference is they make the ultimate sacrifice. So that's why they get the nod, of respect from the hierarchy. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same.
I
Yeah.
use that with my consulting business that I started. I kind of use that example where I talk about sports and different things like that. I say, if John is not going to get slapped in the face so that Jenny can get a 2-day extension on her work reports that she didn't hand in on Monday.
Right.
But the starting left tackle for the Cincinnati Bengals is going to, you know, put his body on the line and possibly tear an ACL before he allows, Jadeveon Clowney to rush past him and hit the quarterback, Maybe a
I
poor
agree. I
maybe a
agree.
poor
And
example with
even
the
no,
quarterback already
but
being
even
down, but
but no, but I agree. But even I'll take it a step further. So we talked about the physical pain as far as an injury, but people don't realize the psychological pain, especially specifically, let's say football, because it's embarrassing. I was just talking about being a corner. And although I never wanted to be hurt, but I also never wanted to be embarrassed on that stage for someone to be able to, you got to understand, like it's physical. So it's man on man, right?
yep,
And at the end of the
you're on an
day, if you
island.
got exactly, you're on an island, right? And if you got any type of cojones in you, you don't want to be overpowered, overforced, what I'm saying, by your opponent. And for everybody to see it, that's a consequence. You know what I mean? Because there's times I've gotten injured and no one saw it. So I was like, all right, I can shrug this off or I'll heal. But getting took up top for 60 Saturday or Sunday or Friday, and you hear the ooh in the crowd, bro, that sits with you. That lingers, man. You know what I mean? And so those are the things, and you can attest to this, which builds the mental toughness and professionalism when you didn't get your deal or certain things didn't kind of go your way. You like, man,
Didn't
if
get the
I can kind of
response.
you didn't get the response. Exactly. I know we veered off. I'm so sorry. I wanted you to complete the story because it was great for you to get the opportunity to play at Toledo. So if you could kind of take us from there. My bad, man. You just
Yeah, so I played at the University of Toledo. I think that was a really interesting time for me because I did a lot of learning. I started out just a communications major, first person in my family to graduate high school. So, heading up from there, it was like in my immediate family, that was already like in uncharted waters for myself. So I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, let me do communications, something like just the easy route, right? That's like the jock degree. They joke around and say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then people, I don't know, like the
Yeah.
what I'm looking for there, but like socially aware in a sense. And I feel like I was like techie, but also like very socially aware. And then I kind of realized after kind of talking to people and doing some stuff that taking theater would be a good time, both that it would be fun, but also like I could learn a lot about people. So I ended up doing a double major whilst I was there at the university. Now that's like my academic side of things. In terms of football, I come out and hadn't played, hadn't punted truly in a game except for that two punts at Enterprise. You know,
Right.
back with Doyle Holt as my head coach. But don't you
Right.
worry about that. My second game in college was at Reno against Nevada. And who was
Yeah.
in the stands? I invited Doyle Holt. He shook my hand after the game and he apologized to me. Yeah, he said,
For talking you into this.
I should have listened to you, Bailey. I said, yeah, you should.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he said, but even knowing what I know now, seeing you walk out in those high top cleats with your ankles taped, I still wouldn't have done it. I said, that's hilarious. But he's like, I'm still sorry. So that was kind of
Bro,
fun.
so I don't think you realize the significant jump. Because most kids in America, right, that play this sport, they start very young. I started late as well. I didn't put on pads until I was 13, which is considered late compared to my peers. They were like 6 and 8, but they go through the different progressions or the different phases. So it's like Pee Wee football, you know what I mean? And then you get like middle school, high school, and then collegiate, but it's like you went straight from not playing to playing a couple weeks at a small school. You know what I mean? So it's still a much lower level, right? To then just get thrown Division 1 with the dudes that eat, sleep, live, breathe this thing, been playing since yay high. Was there a intimidation factor, or you didn't even realize what you stepped into to even have it?
Yeah, I didn't even realize what I was stepping into. When I committed to Toledo, I thought I committed to Tulane. I thought I was going to New Orleans, baby.
Yeah, yeah,
I said
yeah.
Toledo. Okay, that's
Yeah,
cool. The Green
yeah.
Wave.
Right, right, right. Nah.
I said I said
You
Toledo.
going to
Wait
the
a second.
Midwest, buddy.
I said, oh wait, it's gonna snow. They said, oh, it's gonna snow.
Yeah,
I said, oh, I better bring my jacket. He said, you better buy a jacket. Your jacket's probably not good enough. I was like, oh, yeah, you're
yeah,
right. I remember when I left,
yeah,
my mum had gotten me a really nice jacket because she's like, yeah, you're gonna need this, and I used it. Still have it.
yeah.
I'm looking at it right now.
So like here you are, 6'4", probably what, 230 at the time?
When I went to Toledo, yeah,
Yeah,
250.
yeah,
Yeah, I was pushing, and then you got your freshman 15, right?
yeah,
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 so you
yeah,
think you're losing weight, but you're kind of putting weight on. So like,
yep.
all right, I was pushing that sort of 240 freshman year. I was a little junker, punting, right? Like lost a bunch of weight, then kind of put a bit on, and then I like got comfortable, knew what was going on, and then I went down to sort of I played at 220 my last couple of years, and I think my senior year
Okay,
216, but
okay.
like much more muscular than I was as a freshman, obviously, because shout out
So I
to
say,
Coach B.
so I say that to say you were playing right tackle, right, and you were one of the biggest people on the field in high school, and then you went D1 and saw what a real right tackle looks like. So about a couple inches taller, about another 40 pounds heavier.
I remember like you know I used to always hang out with the O lineman because I used to tell them, boys, like I was right tackle. You want to see my huddle? Like
Yeah,
we'd
yeah,
sit there in the mind, but you guys should put up my huddle, guys. Like just know who you're dealing with right
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
That was always me joking around. Like I remember this is like a really funny like side story, but I went to rookie minicamp with Pittsburgh, and
Hmm.
I remember sitting in the hot tubs after practice, and there's George Pickens like in the tubs, like he's just gotten drafted, and I was just chatting with him, and I was like, you better like tap in, bro. He's like, what? I was like, I was drafted second overall in the Canadian Global Draft, right? You're a second rounder. All right. There's levels to this shit, bro. He starts laughing his ass off. He's like, you're funny. I was like, yeah, I'm fucking
Hey, that's probably what kept your sanity being at that level. because of the, I don't want to say a disconnect because you were locked in, but you weren't birthed in the culture for it to kind
I
of
was,
consume you. Yeah,
I was, yeah. So one of the earliest memories I have at Toledo is Coach Nate Cole, who played at Toledo, then became a GA there, and is now the running backs coach. Has been there for a long time, very successful coach.
yeah.
He said to us, "Don't get pimped," and I was like, "What? What do you mean by that?" He said, "The university or any team you come across, they're going to use you for whatever you can give them. They're going to milk you, right, for all of your athletic ability." He says, "Don't get pimped. You get everything from them." And I was like, whoa. And I took that on. That's why I picked up a second degree. That's why I took
Mm,
7 classes a semester. I remember if you got all A's in your classes, Coach Kendall would give you like a pair of Jordans or like something. It was like, that was all good. We're in the Bahamas at the Bahamas Bowl in 2018, and all the guys that got A's get their stuff. And I didn't get it. And I was like, man. I was like, hey, Coach Cannell. He said, what's up? Did you look at my transcript? He said, I don't know. No, he's like, nah, like, but you obviously didn't have all A's. Kind of smart ass. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, I had more A's than most of the guys on this team had classes. I was taking 8 classes. I was taking a double load on the entire semester because I was doing online. All I did was
yeah.
school outside of it. And I had 1 B. And I was like, dude, I had 7 A's and these guys are taking 4 classes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I
Run me my prize, man.
literally, like, what's up? He's like, didn't have all A's. And I was like, man. But I was like,
Dang.
I got mad. I got mad that I didn't get this jacket, right? And then I remember sitting there and going, wait a second. Like, I'm sitting there going, mad about this. Like, I looked up like cost of attendance for
Yeah.
international student, University of Toledo, and I was like, that's per semester. I was like, double that is what I just made off
Yeah.
of these guys. And I was like, and I'm worried about a jacket. I was like, I need to grow up, you
Yeah.
know. And I was like, well, perspective is everything, and comparison is the thief of all joy. I was like,
Correct.
ooh, like you start to see that sort of stuff. And like, I came to that myself and I was like, oof. And I say that all the time, right? Comparison is the thief of all joy. Like anytime I hear somebody making any sort of comparison, I'm like comparison is thief of all joy. Like, and it
Absolutely.
annoys my wife probably now, like the amount I say it and like all that stuff. But I'm just like, it's so true though.
Yeah, it is.
It'll take everything from you and give you nothing.
Yeah, it will. It will. Because you'll be looking at someone else's journey, and it's like your journey is your journey. But if you do that, for some reason, it finds a way to veer you off your journey because you think you should be with someone else or have it the way someone else that you don't even know their backstory or how they getting it. Man, I always say, man, stay in your own lane
Stay in your
because
lane,
that's
right?
where it's less crowded. Yeah.
And you talk
Yep.
about backstories, right? And understanding that.
Yeah.
So like that leads into perspective, understanding people's perspective. Why am I able to do that? Why do I feel I can do that at I think I can understand people's perspectives and profile people at a really, really high level. And I can do that because of theater. Because that's all
Okay.
you're supposed to do is you're supposed to read this script and understand people and understand what's going on in their mind just from words that they've said on a piece of paper. And you have to conjure up these stories and understand the story. I used to get super intimidated by like, oh my god, there's so many words on the script and da 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 da. And I remember Matt Foss said to me, he said, if you understand the story, the words don't matter. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, because if you understand the story, you'd say the same thing. If you understood their perspective, you would say the same words. And I was like, whoa,
Hey, hey, you don't understand how deep that is. I was literally having that conversation with someone. It's like we get caught up in the details sometimes versus understanding what is trying to be conveyed, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like find the truth in this message or whatever it is, the journey, and the words will fill it or the details will come out based off of your perspective. But a lot of times people focus on the words or the technical parts of it. It's like, no, get a understanding, get a grasp of the moment, the situation, whatever the message of them, and you peep that early. That's a great
people always
perspective. Yeah.
say, put yourself in their shoes. And that's just like an overused term because we
Yeah.
say this and then we go, yeah, but I would never. If you say the words I would never, you've not put yourself in their shoes because they did.
Correct.
Why
Because they
did
did.
they do that? Because they don't think the
Exactly.
way you think,
Correct.
right? So now when
Correct.
like all of that comes into play, that's when that person pisses you off because of the thing that they said or the thing that they did. Put yourself legitimately in their shoes to try to understand why and work backwards from it. And then you can see how ridiculous it may look. And it can still be ridiculous, but now it doesn't eat away at you inside because you go, you know what? I don't like how this person reacted. I don't like what this person said. Right? But like with what they know about the situation, I'd probably have done the same thing because they obviously don't know this. And now it comes
Exactly.
down to like, am I going to waste my time
Yeah.
to explain to them that, or am I just going to get over it and move on?
Correct. Correct. And we get the luxury of looking outside in, saying after the mistake happens, well, hindsight and perspective is totally different. So it's like, yeah, of course you would do something different. You've seen how it played out. But what would you have did if you don't know how it would have played out? You probably would have made the same decision that he or she made. You know what I mean? Yeah.
In hindsight, I'm the best at everything. In 2008, I should have bought Bitcoin, but I was too busy being 10 years old. You know what I mean? Like I should have been working. Oh, stupid me. I shouldn't have been watching cartoons. Like what an idiot. What were you doing, Bailey? Eating Cocoa Pops, banana flavored, like what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like in hindsight,
Yeah.
I'm the smartest man alive.
This is true. This is
It's like,
true.
so
This.
is everyone, but it's like, that's just it's obsolete. Right.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So you you get 2 seasons at Toledo, that's amazing. And then you still get an opportunity to play professional. How did that even
Well, so
transpire?
sorry, I played. So I went through. I went five. I played 5 years at Toledo.
Wait, you got five?
Yeah. So
How'd you start your clock all over?
yeah. So in high school, sorry,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I misunderstood what you said before. So in high school, I
I'm
had
sorry.
you get 6 years of eligibility or something in high school.
Hmm.
The way it works, and I had already started my first half of my senior year in Australia. I then dropped out, went to high school, so I only got to play one sport in high school. But then I left and I started basically like I did the junior college route. So I redshirted, went to school in Australia, and again, don't get pimped. I left with a master's degree because in that COVID year, I
Yeah,
had
milk
already
it.
graduated and I was like, well, I still got a year and a half on this. And I was like, what master's degree can I get in a year and a half? They're like, the rate you're probably whatever you want. I was like, all
Right.
right, let's just do this. So I did an MLS and I did a focus in like HR stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, I just like everything I fixated on was people because I saw a lot of the AI stuff that was kind of like coming in, and I was like, wait, if I just understand people better than everyone else, like that's gonna like put me in a really really good
Bro,
position.
stop telling people our secret. No, seriously. I was like, I'm gonna survive. I was like, dude, if you master people, you're gonna forever be of value when everything is getting replaced. Like that is literally reason why I'm not panicking about AI. I'm like, hey, if you understand people, you're gonna always be
People
in
listen to
position.
people. People will listen to AI, of course, right? And they'll look at
Yeah,
that. Hits different. It hits different. A
it's
TED a
it
TED
does.
talk a TED talk hits different.
It does. It does, man. We on the same page, bro. So we just gave the audience a free game, man.
Yeah.
Like seriously, understand people, man. Figure out ways to add value to people on a human to human aspect. That's going to take you a long way. Even before AI, at the end of the day, I remember when I was in sales, one of our leaders used to tell us, like, dude, you guys are not in the finance business. You guys are in the people business. And finance is just a product that you deliver. But once you can make relationships with people and they trust you and they trust your guidance and your leadership, it don't matter what you sell them. You can sell them boogers, you know what I mean? Because they trust you. And that resonated with me so much. And I adapted that. And as time is starting to progress, I see it over and over. It's like, no, understand these people. It's people.
I think back to 5 years of team meetings every day with Coach Candle walking in, right on time and saying, always talking about, hey, get to know your teammates. And I was like, okay, of course we're going to get to know. He's like, no, get to know your teammates because deep interpersonal relationships is what builds trust, and it's the only way you can do it. Nobody trusts you unless you know about them.
But that's primal. What humans do to make humans human is I call it the three F's. We're either going to fight, whether we fight together or fight each other. We're going to forge, whether we're building something, right? In team sports, you're building something to our future, or you're going to fornicate. Well, I'm trying to do that with my teammates, but those build, you know what I'm saying? Like those are the three things that make, that's the glue.
Hey,
And
community.
so, yeah, it creates community, literally. Yeah. All right. So, all right, man, you got
So 5 years,
5 years
yeah. So
until.
5 years at Toledo. Got the
Okay.
COVID year as well.
Yeah.
Whilst I was at Toledo, 2019. Oh, so I actually went to theater school in Moscow, Russia, as well. In 2019. So this is before COVID. And whilst I was there, so I did that during the spring of 2019. Came back, uh, obviously like right at the started fall camp, did fall camp. I was in the best shape ever. I didn't lift a weight the entire time I was in Russia, but I was doing circus training, ballet, all these crazy things. And then I come back and like, I was like in really good shape. As the strongest I'd been, all this sort of stuff. I was punting really well because when I was talking to like the professors there, we were talking about performance. And I was like, what really is performance and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, I'm just performing for these people. I'm doing an act, like I'm all these sorts of things, and just help with like my mental stability for understanding, the moment and calming it down and having a soft focus on what was going on. You talk about like entering your flow state, like all these sorts of things, right? So I really felt like I mastered a lot of that, and I was playing really, really well. And fourth game in against BYU, the first two punts were downed on the 3 and on the 5. They were fair caught on the 3 and the 5. Now, you can understand this, like a returner stands at the 10. If the ball goes over his head, he lets it go. No. BYU twice fair caught the ball there because they knew that the way we had been playing, the way I'd been punting, and the way our coverage team had been going down there, if they let it go, it's going to the 1.
It's going on the 1. Oh.
I was automatic, you know what I mean? Because our cover team was getting down there. So if it did bounce back, they were stopping it before the 5. And if it did bounce forward, they were stopping it before the goal line. Like it was like, you may as well just fair catch it and get it at the 3 because you're going to get 2 more yards if you do that. And I was like, I remember seeing that and thinking, hey, wait a second. Like the first time I was like, he messed up. And he does it again. I was like, they've been told to fair catch this ball. I was like, that's pretty cool. Like I was feeling good about myself. Third punt, I kick it 42 yards, right hash, kicking right. When it's your time, it's your time. 3 of the guys that missed tackles on this play all currently play in the NFL. And it was like, I'm not dogging these guys. Phenomenal players. Obviously, they made millions of dollars.
Clearly, yeah.
The point I'm getting at, this was my time. This was my time for what was about to happen. And, I've ran through this scenario all the time. Like, I wasn't even near the ball, but I get kind of like backside blocked what I thought was an illegal hit. And looking back on it, it looks like a pretty illegal hit, but it was away from the ball, right? So it was like it was just overlooked. I landed funky on my ankle and tore every ligament in my ankle. And I wasn't even near the play. It was like that going that way, but it didn't look that bad because I had turned, like as I was running, I kind of turned to like address the block that was coming towards me. But yeah, it's a way to keep your head on a swivel, right? And
yeah.
I learned that one. But yeah, so I got taken out, and I was out for the season there. I was a part of the University of Toledo, some of their best years in terms of like 2017, one of the best years that in the sort of like 2000s that we've had, and 2019 was the worst team we had in 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Toledo doesn't go 500, and we went 500, and they were calling for Coach Candle's head. It's like, wait a second, Bowling Green won 3 games, we won 6, but Coach Candle's terrible because he lost 6 games, and it's like, whoa! I was like, what an environment to be around, So I got to see the locker room on both sides of that. And very intimately as well, like especially when you're injured, you're around. Man, that was tough. You talk about like just like go through a winter in the Midwest on a scooter, and then talk to me. Like it's just like, oh, I can't walk. Like that was just like by yourself, no family. Like it's just like, man, like this is brutal. But I put some hair on my chest. That was like, hey, if I didn't grow up going to boarding school at 17 or leaving the house and doing all these things, that woke me up. That shook me. And I was like, wow, like this can be taken from me. Honestly, the 4 games that I put together going into that BYU game, I was like, I'm declaring at the end of this year. Like I was like, if I keep going like this, why wouldn't I? Like I'm gonna actually have an opportunity to go to the NFL. The way I was punting, I was like, I felt great. I felt strong. I was like, whoa, this is like really good stuff. And then I just struggled to come back from it because as soon as, I was able to get hands-on recovery, bang, I'm out of the cast. We're in COVID now. No one will touch me. You're not allowed to go near anyone. So I can't go get like manual manipulation on my ankle. I can't get the proper treatment stuff. I remember one of the trainers at that time illegally contacting me to give me went to the facility when they weren't supposed to get some of the rehab stuff so they could drop it off to me at my house so that I could like do some stuff, and then like video called me and was like, all right, try to do it this way. And this is like, I've been looking up videos, like a legend. I was like, man, like try. He's like, this is the best I can do for you. Like, I'm like risking my job by doing this. And I was like, I appreciate you so much, you know?
Right. Right.
And like, and I'll never forget that stuff. You know what I mean? And yeah, started to kind of come back from that. And then I played in the MAC, right? So the season was canceled, and we were like one of the first to like cancel the season, and then all these other leagues come back and say, we want to play, we want to play, we want to play. The MAC
Right.
was no, 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 no. We were the last ones to come back, to the point guys had like shoulder surgeries that they like could have pushed back, but instead they
Yeah.
didn't, because they were like, we're not playing this year. So they get the surgery, and then a week later, like, we're playing now. And it's like, okay, like now Mitchellberg,
Yeah.
I remember him. He was an O lineman for us, great player. Couldn't play that season at all because he's like just had surgery, you know? So we
Right.
come back,
Right.
and I'm like, dude, I can't kick over a jam 10. I had my worst season. Like, I just like, I had no power production. I didn't understand why I had no power production. I was like, what's going on here? And then I start to kind of like, you know, go through the next season. I come into my senior year. This year as well, mind you, I was voted as a captain. And that was a huge thing, which I know you can understand. Like,
Yeah.
to be voted by your teammates,
Your peers? Yeah.
your
Yeah.
peers,
Absolutely.
as a captain at a Division 1 school as a punter, that's
Yeah.
cool.
That's a
You know
big
what
deal.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes they have a special team captain, they have this, they have that. No, we just have a list of guys' names, and you can vote for who you vote for. You know what I mean? We didn't have a special teams captain. It was like, you just, if you got it, you got it, sort of thing. And I got it, and I was like, okay. But also, like, I remember, you know, when shit would go down, guys would come up to me in private and talk to me. But also, those guys wouldn't try and hang out with me on a weekend, because if they did and they were smoking or drinking or doing something extra, I'd call them
Yep.
out for it. I'd be like,
Right.
you
Right.
sure you should be doing that? And they didn't like that, right? So it's like,
Yep.
you know, they want to have their cake and eat it too. But, you know, I mean, that's all good. Like, it worked out with a lot of guys.
But no, that's good. That means they respected your authority though. And
Right.
they knew they understood the boundaries. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. You know, and at times, and also, like, I also know that, like, my personality and a lot of those things, a lot of those guys didn't like me, right? Because I just unapologetically myself, and I'll say whatever I think. Like, that's fine. There's probably a lot of guys that did not like me and just had to deal
Mhm.
with me. And I'm like, I'm cool with that, bro. Like, I'm not here to be your best friend. Like, we're here to win games, and you're here to be the best version of yourself. And if you can't take a joke, like, grow up. Like, I'm sorry.
You under you understood quick, man. You adjusted quick.
Had to, because it's like, well, what's
Yeah.
going to happen? Because also, a lot of these guys, actually, I don't know one of the guys that had an issue with me, or that I felt had an issue with me,
Mhm.
that went on and did anything, you know, in terms of like playing pro and things like that. Like, I just can't think of, like, I see all the guys that, like, I mean, I'm looking up, I got a picture right here, and I see Sam Womack, Tyson Anderson, both guys currently playing in the league. I believe Sam's at the Colts, and then Tyson's at the Bengals. Bryce Harris, injury kind of like struck him, and Bryant Koback, he was with the Seahawks. You know, all these guys, like, stand up dudes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
talk about it. You want to hear a cool story? Go read up about Samuel Womack the
Okay.
third. You know, like, this is a guy who was who turned down partial scholarships in D3 or whatever it was to walk on at Toledo, to then become a player voted captain and get drafted to the 49ers. Now plays for the Colts. So you got traded. I don't know if he got traded or become a free agency, but that's where he's at right now. Like, kid from Detroit that just bet on himself. And it was like, damn,
Yeah.
it's cool. I remember seeing Sam have to stand off to the side because he was a walk on, and the scholarship players had to get fed first before the walk ons could get food. And I remember thinking, this guy plays for us. Like, why is it? I didn't know he wasn't on scholarship. And I was like, what's going on here? And I remember saying to him, after he'd gotten drafted, I was like, I remember that moment. And like, I don't know if you remember that. Like, I like can remember, like,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if you remember that. I was like, I remember seeing you standing there and thinking to myself, what's going on? Because I mentioned, I was like, why are you waiting? Like, do you want
Yeah.
to go in line, or you're out here first? He's like, I'm not allowed to. I was like, what do you mean you're not allowed to? I was like, get in line, dude. Like, not allowed to. And then, like, he got in line and got told to get out. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, what is happening here? You know?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But like, I brought that up, and I was like, dude, what the heck is going on here? You know? But that's a side story there. But yeah, so um played out that year, and then at the end of that year, moved out to California, started training. I actually went and saw I worked with Modus, which is like the rehab specialist that does, like, I mean, they did like Josh Allen's ankle and like all this stuff. Like, so it was like
Okay.
Desmond Ritter was out there doing his pre-draft training. It was like, I like got connected with the right people
Okay.
to see what was going on, because I still like I didn't really have the punt, but I was like, I knew I could do this if I could figure this out. And then BioTrek, I believe was the company, and they have these like cameras that go around you, and we like
Yep.
understood force production and all this stuff, and they were able to break down what was going on and then work with the team at Modus and kind of like figure stuff out, and we figured out what was going on and
Right.
fixed that, and then started punting
That's
really
really
well again
exciting.
after. And I was like, oh, but like my college stuff is what got me drafted, to the CFL, and, got me my opportunity. My pro day was phenomenal. I know that like I had an amazing pro day, but like I had an okay season. So it didn't really matter. Like, yeah, you had a good day. That's
Right.
great. You got to have a great season and a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need some film. They need some
Yeah.
film.
They got to like, okay, that's great that you figured it out today, but why didn't you figure it out in front of 100,000?
Right.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
but then that's what led me. I went to Pittsburgh. Didn't stick around there, and then just had a couple of workouts.
Yeah. And how many seasons you did in the CFL?
So this is an interesting one as well, because it's like I was there. I've done 3 camps in the CFL,
Okay.
but I've only
Okay.
done one. I've only played half a season,
I got you.
and so I went up to Hamilton, won the job, played 10 games, and then my wife had some medical issues come up. And there was a
Mm.
point where I was sitting there and I was talking to the coaches, and I said, I'm sitting here playing a game in Canada right now. My wife's going through one of the hardest moments of her entire life. And I'm sitting up here playing a game, and I want to spend the rest of my life with this woman. And mind you, my wife's a professional soccer player and she's really good. And I was a
Mm.
CFL punter and I was good, but like,
You made a business decision.
there's more to go. There's more to grow for
Right.
me.
Right.
She's at the top.
Yeah.
She's at the
She's
top.
at
And
the
I was
top
like,
already. Yeah.
and I had a like conversation with myself, and I was like, we want to have kids, right? And I was like, when we both decide it's time to have kids, it is something that is going to pull her away from her sport. And she doesn't have the choice, right? Like when she's pregnant, she's not playing. You can't play
Correct.
pregnant,
Correct.
within, when you're showing and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So what happens if she gives birth and then she goes, I don't want to play anymore? Or what happens if she's like,
Mm.
my body's just not, and doesn't feel the same or whatever. And now I'm sitting there going, man, like us having kids and I'm still chasing this dream that's like just so close, but like I'm not there or whatever.
Right.
Whereas like she's here right now. I was okay. So part of our conversation was like, let me be, everything I can be to support you in what you're doing, because there's going to come a time where you may or may not want to continue this. And that's because we're having a family. And
Correct.
I'm kind of like taking that from you in a sense, you're deciding to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
this, but it's like, for us to build a family, you have to stop. You know what I mean? Like,
Correct.
well,
Yeah.
we can build a family and I can keep playing. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's like what's going on? And so that was tough. So I left mid-season, and then she got healthy and we kind of got her back on track. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna come back. So I went back to Hamilton the next year, and I was doing okay.
Mm.
I wasn't like crazy lights out playing, but I wasn't doing bad either. And I was winning the job. And then they brought in this guy, Nick, who had just gotten released as a free agent from Denver, Aussie guy as well, really good punter. And I was like, man, like this is going to be a tough one. You know what I mean? Like he's going to be hard to beat.
Mm.
But he came in late. I've been there. I was okay. Like I'll maybe have a chance. We played the preseason game in the locker room after the first preseason game. I get stepped on just randomly. And I was like, what the hell? It kind of hurt, but I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
I was like barefoot, some linebacker had like stepped on
Yep.
my
That's how
foot.
I go. Them cleats.
And I was like, oh, that kind of hurt. And then like the next day we're off. Nick comes in. That's when I was like saying, I'm like, oh shit, what's gonna go on here? And my toe, I was like, I got an ingrown toenail. I was like, oh shit. I go to the trainers and I was like, can you like dig this out? They're like, yeah, soak your foot. They're like, there's no ingrown toenail. And I was like, well then why is my toe hurt and why is it so big? I ended up getting an infection in my toe.
You got staph infection in your toe?
I don't know if it was a staph. I don't know, like what, I guess. I mean, but it was
Yeah.
to the point where like, I mean, I'll send you a photo. It was disgusting. My toe blew
Yeah.
up. I couldn't walk I could put any pressure on my right foot. So I had to walk completely on my heel. And
Man.
I was like, what is happening right now? And like, you talk about like ego and stuff like that. Like I'm sitting there, how bad does it look for me? They just brought a new guy in and now I'm saying I can't practice and he's doing well. And I'm like, bro, and I'm talking to him about it too.
And
Like,
it's a toe injury at that. You know, we kind of laugh at certain injuries, like, "What? It's your
got
toe,
an
man. Take
infection,
it
got
up."
an infection on
Yeah,
his
yeah,
toe.
yeah,
Like, what's going on here? So they say to
yeah.
me, they say, there's definitely an infection. Let's just like monitor it here. And they gave me some medication to take. And they were like, let's just see what happens. They said, if you notice like a red line going up your foot, like up your toe, copeless, because that means it's a serious infection. It means it's spreading. It means you need to get that cleared out right away, or else you're going to lose your toe or your foot, or
Yeah.
it's like could be really
Right.
bad. They're like, but like we don't think it's that bad. It was like throbbing pain. Oh,
Take it
it was
out.
like
Yeah.
I was like, this was like I was like I had to stop looking. I was getting like sweaty and like I was like,
Yeah.
ugh. Just like because at first I was
Yeah.
watching it, how easily they were able to cut in. I was like, whoa, don't slip, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I don't.
and then they gave me the option. They said, "There's like, we're not going to sew it up because we can't sew up an infection. Like, if we miss something,
Right.
like we're gonna have to cut your foot off." I was like, "Oh, okay." They said we strongly advise you not playing this next preseason game. But if I don't play this next preseason game, like I'm gonna lose the job.
It's your spot. Yeah.
I call my agent and I'm like, "What's going on here?" He goes, "Jeez." He's like, "That's tough." He's like, you have to make a decision on what you want to do." And I was like, "I want to walk." At least, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm not playing. And, I remember like there was a lot of the way the communication was going and all that sort of stuff. It just like there was a lot of other bullshit that was happening. Like the new coach that had gotten hired there, the special teams coordinator, just wasn't really getting along with him very well. And he had said some things to the GM that I was saying to him, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like saying that I was like cussing him out, or I forget exactly what it was. And I was like, "This is weird," like because I'm not doing that. It's like, "Oh, he's disrespecting me and all this stuff." And the GM was like, I remember Ed Hervey. He was like, "I know that's not who you are as a person, so like I took it, I didn't take it like very strongly, but like I wanted to hear your perspective." I was like, "What the heck?" And I remember
Mm.
my mate comes up to me. He goes, "You know all the film that we do on the backfield that's just us?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You know
Yeah.
there's audio?" And I was like, "No, I didn't know there was audio." He said, "Yeah, so all that stuff
Uh,
that he says you're saying, like, you can actually hear the opposite. You hear him cussing me out. You hear me going, 'Hey, coach, what do we have next period?' Don't have to
yeah.
worry about it. Like, you know, I'm the coach. I'll tell you what you got." And just, like screaming at me. I start laughing because I'm like, "Oh, this guy's just being silly with me right now. There's no way
Yeah.
he's actually being serious when I just asked what period we have, like we have punt." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, this person like actually dislikes me." He started making comments about, "I thought this other guy was better than you," and I remember I said to him, I said, "You thought that guy was better than me?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Why did I go second in the draft? And why was I the first punter taken that year? And why was he not taken until
Mm.
second round?" Like, I don't understand if he was so much better than me. "Oh, well,
Mm.
the head coach vetoed it, like, for us to take this other guy." Okay. Why? Because the other guy was better, you know? And I bet he would have
So
taken.
you had to do it. So you had to do it with the politics in
Yeah.
sports. That's
I was
that's
like,
another thing that happens. Yeah.
"What are we talking
Yeah.
about here?" You know what I mean? So I was like, "This is ridiculous." But, so I went back. I came back here and I said to my wife, I said, I'm done playing." And then, that's when I started working on my own stuff, my consulting business and building that out and those sorts of things. And then I get a call earlier this year. "Hey, Bailey, you still playing? You still punting?" "Yeah, I'm still punting." I hadn't,
Like, why not?
I hadn't touched the ball. I had not touched the ball in 12 months. And the coach calls me.
Man.
Two coaches in the span of a week, two different coaches had called me, both at Saskatchewan and Calgary. And I was like, whoa, like what's going to go on here? And I ended up signing with Saskatchewan. And like in hindsight, like I mean, I'd joke about it with him now, but like he said, "Have you been punting?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely, coach. I haven't touched the ball." And like so, when I like got to camp, that was when I was like first time
Yeah.
back into it, and I was like, "Oh, it was so windy. It was just so brutal." And but again, there was a bit of politics that was going on there in terms of like just the way they communicated. And I had a wedding that I had to go to, and I said, "I'm not signing unless I can go to this wedding." And they said, "Yes, you can go." And then I go to the wedding, and then I get dropped, and I'm like, "What's going on? You guys could have just told me that you didn't like me, and I
Yeah.
would have just took my
Yeah.
stuff with me." You know what I mean? I didn't have
Yeah.
to fly 8 hours back just to turn around the next day and get on a flight. Would have saved you money too. Like, what's going
Yeah.
on? Yeah, but I'm like, "Yeah, I'm done. Like, I'm cool. I'm
Yeah.
pursuing this now." Like, like I got a lot of other stuff going on, and I've made that transition, and I kind of started to, but it's hard to turn away from it. Steve Young, I was at the Campbell Trophy Summit
Yeah.
earlier this year, or a few weeks ago, And Steve Young was there, he was giving a speech. He said, my advice to you when you're like to people, he was talking to everyone, when you're done playing is to run. And I was like, at first he
Mm.
said that, I was like, what? Like start running marathons?
Mm.
He's like, run away from the sport. He
Run
said,
away
'cause
from
if
it.
you keep yourself within arm's reach and then temptation comes back, you'll grab it and then you'll feel bad that you did. And honestly, I'm happy. I don't regret anything. But in hindsight, would I have gone to Saskatchewan? No.
I see what you're saying.
You know, like
I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
there's no need to have done that. But everything happens for a reason, right? Like if I hadn't gone to Saskatchewan, they could have picked up this other guy and
Yeah.
maybe this other guy played for him, right? Whereas the guy who I became close mates with, Joe, who's the punter there now, who beat me out, it's like he maybe wouldn't have gotten his opportunity if I didn't go, you know?
That's how it
So
goes.
like
Yeah.
so like I kind of like took the spot from a draft pick that they would have put in there and like
Yeah.
drafted a guy, they would have felt like they had to play that guy even
Right.
if Joe maybe beat him out. But where he beat me out, it was like, oh, they didn't draft me. It's much easier to let me go. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and like I was talking to him about that, and I was like, dude, like I know this might sound like kind of weird. I was like, but I'm like really proud that like I got to be a part of your story because this was his
Yeah.
first time
It's all
playing as well.
connected.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he had been there for a year and was on practice squad and wasn't playing, and now he's the guy, right? And he's been doing
Yeah.
well. Like I'm like that's cool to see that, right?
You know what I've noticed just so far from your entire journey and story? So, two things stood out to me. One, you are a student of life. And I think that's the reason why you took opportunities that at first glance may seem like out of the box, like who just hops on a plane to go to another country to play another sport that they just played. But you were so curious about experience in life, and every journey or every experience, you took something and made it personal to how you apply and shape the condition of the lens that you view the world today, right? But the sport of football allowed you to do that. And not saying that you didn't love the sport, because you did, but I think it was something greater that you had a greater mission and didn't realize what that mission was until everything started to conclude. To be like, listen, I'm gonna use this as a vehicle to get these nuggets on this journey, whether it be education, which is, dude, you had what, 2 degrees during that time? You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Then you got to play in these different places in the United States, in Canada. You met the love of your life. And then you made these relationships. And now, where we're going to transition to your business that you have now, I'm going to be honest with you in a selfish way. I think the sport probably would have been the only vehicle that could allow you to get all of these things. But you were wise enough to pay attention to everything on the outside, to be like, yo, I'm going to soak in all of this experience and I'm going to learn whatever I need to learn. And then I'm going to take it all in and I'm going to apply it, you know what I mean, to
Mate,
life. And look at you now.
if I didn't go play football, I was like on the path to either I thought I was going to become like an auto electrician. Like I wanted to,
Okay.
you know, be an auto leccy
Yeah.
and work on cars and do that
Yeah.
sort of stuff like back in Australia. That was kind of like, or I was just going to kind of get a job and just kind of like day to day, like just kind of be. And I was like, whoa, this like opened my eyes up to be like, actually, like I might be able to do anything I want here, you know, to the
Yeah.
point of like, I'm in a position now where since retiring and like from playing, I'm like, wait a second, like I was looking at like getting into sales jobs or like doing these sorts of things. And I was like, I don't have to do that. I was like, I can actually go off and do this on my own and started my consulting business. And I was like, wait a second, like there's an appetite for the information that I have and that I can put out there and
Yes.
the product that I've built. And there's, you know, these sorts of things and these people that I'm meeting and all this sort of stuff. And along the way, like I made some good decisions. You know, I did not like I literally played 10 games in the CFL, right?
Yeah.
And then like worked on the side like here and there and made some really good investments and like got myself in a
Yeah.
position where it's like I don't gotta go to work. You know, like I can do
Like
this,
I'm
you know
doing
what I mean?
something right here. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right? Like I secured the bag.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm referencing your game a little in the back there, you know? Bag of
Oh
broke.
yeah, absolutely. So that was another thing. You were smart with the income that you made. But before we get into investment, I do want to talk about your transition, like because you're still associated to the game in some capacity, but now you're kind of behind the scenes as far as in representation and in consulting. Kind of share with us, what it is that you're doing with these athletes or for these athletes,
Yeah. So
and
what
how did that
started
come
out
about? Yeah.
Yeah, so what started out is I realized that there was like a lack in communication culture and, I guess like overall understanding of players for coaches. And I was like, wait a second, we can optimize performance in the weight room and we talk about optimizing performance in mentality and things like that. But are we really coaching up the coaches on how to get that best out of a player? How do we rent behavior? How do we understand what makes this person tick in a way that we can rent that behavior from them in the moment and we can get the most out of them? Because in the end, if we can positively affect, the mental state of a player to get the best physical performance out of them, then everyone's going to be happy, and it's actually in turn going to make the overall mental health of that player and the players around them better, because things are good when you're winning. you know,
It's true.
Everything is good when you're winning. Everybody's happy when you're winning.
Yeah.
If you're on a team and somebody's unhappy and the team is winning, then that person needs to look in the mirror because they're just probably jealous that they're not playing,
They're not playing. Yeah.
and different things like, which is okay. You're just in the wrong environment. Sometimes a change of scenery is what you need, and that person probably needs that. Now we have the transfer portal, and now we have free agency in sports, and you can
Yeah.
request a trade, like all those sort of things. And it's kind of like that is kind of what I do. I wanted to stay in sports when I first got done. So I was like, how can I stay in sports? So that's why I wanted to build out the consulting side of things there, where I can consult I'm almost like a consulting general manager in a sense, where like I'll
Yeah.
understand like operational hierarchies to place people in the right positions, but then also make sure that we understand the players so well that we can get the best out of them. And, I've built case studies on this and gotten to work with some pro teams, and that's been super fun. I've got to meet with some really, really big time teams as well. And
Yeah.
of late, what's been really cool with me releasing some of these case studies, even just like over LinkedIn, like people have kind of sent them around. It's like, what's going on here? Like, this young guy's kind of doing something a little bit different. I've met with and spoken to some really big businesses too,
Yeah.
that are interested in looking at ways to incorporate this, right? Because I mean, I can scale this business and just completely focus on that, but I'm like, that's like, I want to stay in sports. Like that's kind of like a big thing for me. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm not gonna shy away if like I can help in another aspect and avenue,
That's
right?
crazy. Like, I think that's something, and I'm glad you were able to identify that because a lot of times we have these great ideas to help athletes, but then see a bigger potential and then veer off. And it's like, dang, I didn't help the people that needed it. And that's usually some of the things that I complain about is like a lot of times, our geniuses get taken out of our culture to go do other things. And it's like it leaves the athlete hanging. You know what I mean? It's like if we can kind of keep it going, but I get it. You want to be the best that you can on the biggest stage, biggest platform. But it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah. I was talking to one of my mentors about it all, and he was like, okay, especially with like starting out with like this sort of consulting stuff, he's like, if you're just focused on the money of it all, he's like, you're just going to stay in corporate like stuff. And that's just what you're going
Yeah.
to do. You're going to get your healthy fee to come and consult, and you're just going to be another one of those guys. And I was like, interesting. He's like, but do it unconventionally. Like you've set yourself up in a position where you can do this kind of on your own dime and help people out and actually help. He said people sense sincerity. People can smell it. They can smell it in the air and they can see it in the way that you're acting and the way that you're helping out and those sorts of things. And it gives you opportunities for other things as well. And like I've seen that with some of the case studies that I was just like, some of the teams I worked with on case studies, I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna charge you for this. But
Mm.
I need to have access and it's not gonna cost me anything to do it. But let me, because I'm going to get value on the back end of this, right? Like when I do well with all of what's kind of coming from.
And I think that's something too that gets lost in the journey. Like we see the potential of how it can grow instead of being like, but what if I'm the best at this small thing here? Because then if you focus on that, then all the other stuff is going to just naturally come and you're not going to have to make those decisions. Like that was kind of the defining moment where I'm at right now. Because when I talk about my ideas and they're like, these people need it, military need it, corporate need it. I'm like, that's going to veer me off of what I'm trying to do. I'm like, how about if I'm just known for this and then all the other valuable and successful things, I draw that naturally to where I don't have to step outside that box because I am known for being the best at helping this group of people.
Yeah, I think like I have these conversations. Like I remember when I was at the when I was at so the William Campbell Trophy.
Hold on real quick. Sorry about that. Jordy, you're fine. Don't take all of those. Just go get some chips, man. Yeah, you can get two of those. He woke up from his nap. Yeah. No, I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
When I was at the William Campbell Summit, I remember talking to some people about like what I'm doing, and they were just like, "Whoa, dude, this could change like so many things." And I'm like, "Yeah, of course it could." You know what I mean? But like for it to achieve that, like I would have to just become a hermit and scale this business from the computer, and I don't actually get to do what I wanted to do in the first place, and all these sorts of
Yep.
things. Or I could just be really, really good at this, and I could do a lot less people, and I could charge a lot more for it. And kind of
Hmm. Make millions, but you can have a more fulfilling life, and that's the decision. I think a lot of times, like you said, not even just athletes, but people in general, they chase billionaire or can this be the biggest in the world instead of like, yo, can I just add value, tremendous value to the people that need it the most? Like I can sleep at night, and we want to get paid, like we want to be able to live comfortably and things like that, but oh, it don't
and
take a
that's it.
billion to live
That's it.
comfortably.
I was about to say, and that is a big thing
Yeah,
that people do not understand. When I was
yeah,
15, 16, I thought if I didn't have $1 million in the bank, like
yeah,
I'd be stressing out. Like, how am I going to make $1 million to do this and da 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 da? And it's like, wait a second, especially in America, it's like
in America, yeah,
you don't need that. You know what I mean? Like you don't need that at all. You need cash flow to get a loan, but like you
yeah,
get a loan, you can get yourself right. You just make some good decisions, and you're going to be in the right spot.
correct,
Now, how do we make
correct.
sure you're making the right decisions? Who's supporting you there? Who's
Mhm.
sincerely supporting you there? Because
Correct.
like any financial advisor is going to sound like the best financial advisor when they're getting a cut of your money, right? They're getting their 2% management fee or their whatever it is, right? Of course, they're going to sound like the right person for you. But like, if you don't have a deep interpersonal relationship with that person, what do you expect? How do you trust them? And like, you're not,
Right.
and like, yeah, it smells like roses, like over here, but it's like, then they'll turn around to you and be like, oh yeah, like, this is what we do with your money, and we're over here. But like, nobody could have seen this was coming with the tariffs, and that's why the S&P
Yeah.
dropped 20 points today, and da 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 da. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, like you didn't see it coming,
Right.
maybe somebody else
Yeah.
did. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're how much are you really managing over this, and how much are you
I was
really
about
doing
to
this.
say, yeah. And how much did this affect you? Because it affected me. You know what I mean? How much skin in the game do you have with me? And
Skin in
and
the
that's my
game
biggest
is
thing.
the big thing. Yeah.
It's the big thing. And that's my issue with just, and I probably said it on other podcasts before, but I was like, that's the issue I got with the culture. It's like we get services and resources from people that are on the outside. Now, and it's like, yeah, are they really trying to help? Do they really understand what we go through on a day to day? I'm like, that's why I'm preaching, like, listen, let's all become professional as athletes so that we can help each other because we understand each other's journey. And no, we might not have monetary skin in the game, but we have cultural skin in the game. Like, we want to see each other win because we were once in those positions. So we're going to do more. You know what I mean? We're going to sacrifice more. We're just going to put more into it. And I think that's been the issue with just sports in general. Is usually coming from outside people that sees it's a money grab. I don't care if they get offended or not, but I've seen it. I see it every day. You know what I
All the
mean?
time.
And that's why I love what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
all the time on that, right? So then
Yeah.
with the consulting, right, that kind of like led me down that sort of path of like, okay, like I'd like to get into the space of representation and those sorts of things like down the road, like as things are kind of growing, and I enjoy the marketing side of things. And I remember speaking to my wife's agent, who is like he's a great agent in the women's soccer space, like has a lot of the top players and like, gets all these great deals. So like I rely on him heavily for like his sort of path. And he's like, you know what, like the representation side alone is not like, it's not what you think. It's super hard. Like there's a lot of this. And I'm like, okay. He's like, but the marketing and the storytelling side, like that might be the way to go. And I was like, so I was like, I like telling stories, like
Yep.
that's a side of it that's kind of fun. So although I'm still doing my consulting, I'm just very selective on like where, who, what, when, where, and why. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And I have kind of focused put my focus onto the marketing side of things. So I work with Critical Sports and Entertainment, and specifically in their women's soccer division. And I'm a partner with the agency, so I'm able to like make legitimate decisions, over what's kind of going on, like with a lot of stuff there, right? Like I get to oversee, or
Yeah.
just I get to hear about like what's going on with the representation side of stuff. Cool. But like I get to actually help them on the girls on the things that they want help with. And I get to take a lot of the understanding of sports and politics and controlling the controllables, and then be like, okay, like you're on minimum wage, so you need to focus on like what's going on. Like you need to be maxing out your 401k, of course, like those sorts. These are like basic things, right? And now I can't sit there and say like, because I'm not a financial advisor, like, I can't say that necessarily like to them, but I can turn around and say, this is somebody that I actually trust and that I actually know is pretty good on this. And that's the team that we're building around, are these people that are already so set, right? That they're already like, I think about like one of the guys, Brian Ohm. He's a kind of like he was introduced to me as kind of like a booster at Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
This guy like worked for Morgan Stanley before they were Morgan Stanley. Like this guy's been around, then went off with his business partner and started their own firm. And like this guy manages $1 billion in assets. Like, and I could call him for advice any day of the week, right?
I
Like,
see what you're saying. Yeah.
and it's like building that deep interpersonal relationship with him. I trust him and I trust what his thoughts are on things like that. So then I would also suggest him to other people, because it's like we know that like this guy's legitimate about what's going on. He's been around. He's kind of seen what's happening.
So you're a facilitator.
Yeah, I think about like I'm a broker in a sense.
Yeah, a
Like
broker. Yeah.
just that middleman to like to connect people.
Yep.
I mean, literally
Yep.
just 2 days ago, like, that like naming names of people. Good mate of mine updates me that now he's working for a family office of a really affluential person. They've got a lot of money to spend and they want to spend it in sports as one of the options possibly. And then I call another one of my mates who reached out to me a few weeks prior and was like, hey, we got this opportunity to get some equity in an NFL team and an NBA team. I was like, cool. I was like, I don't got the money for that. I was like, but if it comes across me, like I'll let you know.
Yeah.
It came across,
Right.
got them in contact. They're doing their thing. Cool. I don't know what comes of it, but it's like, that's that, like, just be that connector, like in that sense of
Yeah.
what's going to go on. Because when I need something from them, I'll ask, you know,
Exactly.
I'll
Yeah.
ask, and
Yeah.
hopefully they made a lot of money from that connection there. But like when I need something, like
I need you to come through the way that I did. Exactly. Yeah.
I know they'll do
No,
it.
man, you're planting your seeds right now, and it takes time, but you're doing the right thing because, like I said, you're giving first. You're putting people in a position to win, and people never forget that.
They
You know what I
say
mean?
they say the true test of a man is one who can plant the seeds of a tree that he knows he will never see the shade of.
Bingo.
And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a tough one to like. It's a tough one to come across, but it's like plant the seeds, let them grow, right?
Let them grow.
And you
Yeah.
may never see the shade of this tree, but on the off
Yeah.
chance that you do, well, that was a good decision, wasn't it?
Exactly. But here's the other thing. Let's go even deeper. You might not be able to see the shade of that tree, but you may get fortunate enough to be under the shade of another tree that somebody else planted. Because it's all connected. You know what I mean? And not to sound all woo woo, but the universe sees when people are doing the right thing. You know what I mean? And it continues to put you in the right position to win. So I love what you're doing. I love hearing stories how more people are starting to do things for these athletes to put them in this best position, especially when it comes to finances. And now we can get into this financial talk. You know what I mean? Because we understand, like, especially now, were you a part of the NIL movement or you had left right before it started?
So I was right there, right as it started, but because I was an international athlete, I was not allowed to benefit of any of it, right? So like I did the whole I got a local company, partnered with them, did a T-shirt. Toledo is area code is 419. So we made a T-shirt that was, and I was number 49. So we took a
Mm,
49, all
hmm
right, in Toledo's colors, and then put a picture of me punting, and I'm extremely flexible. So when I punt, I'm completely split. So I was the one in the
Who is the one?
419. All right. We
Nice.
made these
Good
shirts
branding. Great
using
branding.
with
Yes.
Jupe Mode. They're like a local
Yeah.
Toledo company. Great company. And they do a lot of giving back. And I was like, hey, let's facilitate this. I know because of my visa situation, I wasn't allowed to take any money, right? And
Hmm.
so we ended up raising about 10 grand just cash alone on the profits that I had negotiated with them. So they made their money, they made all their stuff, and then I was supposed to, get sort of 10 grand out of it on that there. Plus, we had other people donate to the cause on what was going on and donate computers and all these sorts of things because I turned around and said, "Hey, I'm not going to accept the money." So Jupe Mode made it. And I basically and it was out online. So it was like, rather than, I wasn't like legally beholden to them, right?
Right.
Where it's like, I couldn't like I wasn't going to be able to take them to court if they didn't pay me, but also like their name would have been tarnished in the area, right? So like they were doing it. They were like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do this percentage, like yada, yada. I forget exactly what it was, but it ended up being a lot of money, right? A lot of people bought these shirts. And first day's daycare, right? It was a small daycare in, an underserved community in Toledo. And we went there with Nate Cole and Coach Ringer. And like, I remember going out there and I remember seeing like one of the kids is on the teacher's phone on the after school program because they didn't have a computer to do their book report, their 5th grade book report or something like after school. And like, it's a beautiful day outside, but they can't go on the part, like the playground outside, because it's like all splintered and it's all just destroyed and all this, and they don't have a cover over this, and there's just like all these things that were like kind of wrong, but they're making it make sense. They had this book, I'll never forget. They had this book, and they read, and the kids loved this book. And you know what? If I went back and did it again, I'd start making children's books, because they said this book was like $120, and there was 10 books in the thing and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, what are we doing? So they read the same book all the time. And she's like, there's like 10 more in this sequence, but we like can't afford it. And I was like, what is going on? So I said to him, all right, I'm going to raise you guys a lot of money. And then Jutmo donated it directly to them on my behalf. And I said, the one thing is, you just need to buy all those books. So they went through it, able to buy, spend $1,000 or whatever on bloody books, right? They got the kids got all these books. And the books were the main part as well, because during COVID, before COVID, I would go in there and read books to the kids, and they thought it was so cool because it was like a Australian accent. These little kids had no idea what was going on. We'd play games with them and all this stuff. Well, during COVID, there was no interaction. And, some of these kids, parents work graveyard shifts. They're working at night. So they're sleeping through the day. So they don't have very much interaction necessarily with their parents, or their parents don't have the time to read them a book or all this sort of stuff. Like these people are hard workers, right? So what I did is I said, hey, leave out the 10 books that the kids want to hear. They left them out on the porch. I walked over there, I grabbed them, and I went and recorded myself reading all of those books.
Nice.
So the kids could go listen to them. They could have any one of those books read to them at any time. And we did it properly. I used the equipment, the media staff at Toledo. We did an over, because I was theater as well. So I produced and edited it all.
You knew what you was doing. Exactly.
So I had the camera over the top. I had the camera in front, and I was cutting back and forth so they could see the book as I was talking about it. I was performing it to them, put that on YouTube and did all that sort of stuff. But that was like where the book side of it came. But yeah, so in terms of NIL, yes, I was there right at the start of it. Didn't get to personally benefit in terms of like in my own pocket, but I feel much better about that, because I was also sitting there going, wait a second, like I'm the only one really pushing this right now and to do something here. And I made some like legitimate change. And you talk about like the shade of something else, and I ended up getting nominated, and I won a Acts of Courage award from the Red Cross.
Nice.
Because I had done that. And like I'm super proud of that. Like I'm more proud of that than I am of, than I would have been of making 10 grand, 10, 15 grand, had them in my pocket. Oh, that's cool. I'd have blown it. You know what I mean? Like what would I have done with it? Like, I don't know.
Right.
But like, I know that did something for those people, and it gave those kids, just a bit better of a chance. I had Mike Hart downtown, which is he's a local business owner in Toledo. They has a marketing agency, Hart Marketing, and he donated several Mac computers so that they had computers to do their book reports, and like all this, like these little things and
I love it.
Stuff, like it was just awesome. People came together.
So you're seeing literally overnight students now, because you were there before it, and then and right when it starts. So what were some of the, you don't have to disclose any names or anything, but what are some of the stories are you seeing how these young athletes were managing this newfound fortune?
I think like you talk about like managing this money, right? I think, and this is like going into the deep end here, right? Sounds terrible to start with this. I think that there is a high chance and high probability that if not taken into consideration, which I think NIL collectives are doing a good job of it, but I was really worried about this. I felt like suicide rates in college football would increase dramatically because of the amount of money that came onto players, right? Because we were already I remember Ryan Leaf coming to Toledo to talk to us, and this was just after that quarterback at Washington State had shot himself. He was like, man, and he gives us this talk, and he's like, no one should ever feel that way. He gives us his phone number. He gives everyone his phone number. He says, you ever feel like that? You call me. I don't care what I'm doing. I'll take the time. And it was like, damn, like this is like, he's pretty like passionate about this. I was like, whoa, this is like some real shit. And then I remember in times before me, guys like getting their, is it FAFSA or like,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
it. Yeah.
getting their FAFSA check, right? And they're getting that because they come from a low socioeconomic part of the country or a
Yep.
single mother or all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
And then they blow it and then they don't got money for rent. They'll look after me. And it's like, okay. But what they're not understanding is the makeup of how the money is getting paid out now. So it's like, okay, there's no scholarships anymore. So instead, you're getting your 100 grand. Cool, you're getting 100 grand. School costs 30. You're out of state, mate. So you're getting 70. And then you got to pay rent. And then you got to pay tax on 100. So it's like you're actually making 70, then you had to pay 30. They're not giving you a tax deduction on the amount of money. And now you're after paying 30% on your taxes, you got 70 grand. After paying 30 grand for school because you're out of state, you know what I mean? Like that's going to be another big sort of thing there. You're looking at 40 grand now. Okay, cool, you got 40 grand. You want to live like a king, so you go buy a Hellcat that costs you 80, right? And you finance it, and you got a 9.
Yeah.
But I'm making 100 grand. Okay, cool. Well, now you don't have money for rent, dude. Go sell that. Go try and sell that back to them. You go buy a
Yeah.
$80,000 Hellcat off a dealer, and then you try and sell it back to them. They give you 40 for it. And now you didn't pay, and that's assuming you paid taxes. What if they didn't pay their tax off it? Now that's the reason I'm saying the collectives are doing well, is because I believe a lot of them are facilitating that money is getting handed to the kids post-tax and they're withholding and those sorts of things, which I think is great. But you don't withhold 1099 money when they're making off the field stuff, so there's a lot of that goes on there too.
Correct.
And the reason I talk about the suicide rates and stuff like that is like, that's kind of crazy. Like I started thinking about it and I'm like, wait a second, like there are several players who I played with just in my time at Toledo that have passed away since I was there. And it's like just recently, earlier this year, one of the funniest guys on the team with the biggest smile who didn't go to the NFL, moved back out to Florida. We start seeing all these posts on Instagram. What's going on? And he shot himself. This guy's got you've got kids. Like what's happening? Like what? Like, I don't know I don't understand like the, exactly what's going on. But I'm like, that didn't happen because everything was great. Something was off, and that is the thing. We talk about like you don't know, what somebody's going through and all this sort of stuff. And like, all right, well, what happens now when I am making $100,000 and I do pay my taxes out on it, and I'm getting my 70,000, and now I don't go to the NFL after 4 years of getting that 100 grand, and I did save $10,000 a year, and I have $40,000 in an account. 40,000 is not that much money, like in the grand scheme of things, because you got to go to work now, big dog. You can't go buy a $50,000 truck, like all these other things. And are you supporting anyone else? Is your family from back home expecting money as well? Jordan Berry said this to me. He said, when I signed, everyone thought I was making $1 million because I signed a contract. It's like roughly, it wasn't that, it was like 750 or whatever. But say it's $1 million. He goes, Bailey, yeah, I'm making $1 million. He said, I got a car, I got a house, I got a family. He said, and then I got to pay taxes. So almost half of it's gone just on the taxes, and then they expect me to have all this extra money laying around. He goes, that's not what's going on.
Yeah, I think what we got to kind of get ahead of is the fact that, especially for the major sports, basketball, football, you're dealing with first generation athletes, come from predominantly, lower socio and economical background. It's fine. But like you said, to be able to make six figures or even 1 million in that short span of time and then go get kicked off into the real world where you're not going to touch that as having a regular job, that's a hard fall. And not even be given the skill set to, one, cope with that, or two, to be able to put yourself in a position to make that again. I see where that can be very damaging, because like you said, most people that get even a good job, you might make six figures. You might, right? But like you said, you got a regular degree, and so did I. Like, none of us athletes don't go in there and study engineering, bro.
If I'm making 600 grand a year in college, I ain't trying out hard in class.
It's just impossible. Yeah.
We do not care.
Yeah. We don't care.
Like it's just not gonna
And
happen.
that's just the honest truth. Yep.
I'm gonna blow that cash. If I'm a wide receiver at Ohio State making 600 grand, I'm buying a sick car. I'm getting a good pad, like all this sort of stuff. And it's like, okay, now I'm buying depreciating assets because I
Correct.
think it's cool. And I'm gonna buy a watch. And if they decide to bust it down, now they just lost their value. Do they understand? Like, oh, you buy a $30,000 watch, put $30,000 in diamonds in it. Oh, it's worth 60 grand. No, it is not.
No. It's back to
Like
working. It's
it's like
worth 20.
it's all these things, and you think the jeweler's going to tell you that? You go, nah, bro. You gonna put 30 G's in that? Yeah, that's not go.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like they don't care. What are you
Yeah.
gonna do? Snap on them? Like it's
Yeah.
gonna happen. You got more to lose. Like
Yep.
people know this, and they're gonna take advantage. And that's the thing. I talk about taking advantage. Then you got the NIL agents. They're gonna take their 20%. You make 100 grand on an NIL deal
Wait,
that's
NIL
being
agents out
negotiated.
here gouging like that? They taking that much out?
Oh, I've heard some big numbers. Now, obviously, there's going to be like
Damn.
limits and things like that. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
like they're going to try marketing deals. That's what happens. If you're a pro in the pros, they take
Yeah.
20%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so that's what it is. That's reoccurring on the contracts they negotiated, and you signed that when you signed up. And this is the other thing. Like you talk about like the marketing side of things. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I sign a 4-year deal with agent A and I have a exclusive marketing agreement. And then I go out of my way to speak to my friend who has a rep at Nike who wants to pay me 100 grand, but I did all the work and I do all the managing of it. And then my agent finds out he needs his 20 grand. He gets his 20% because I'm in an exclusive marketing agreement. Doesn't matter who finds it. It's your name, image, and likeness is managed by them. They own it. They own you in an exclusive marketing agreement. Like, how is it geofenced? Is it geofenced? Like all these like different things. Like I bet so many guys don't understand that. I only understand
Right.
about geofencing because I'm from Australia. So I was like all the time when I'm like looking at things and I'm like, well, just geofence me here. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can have whatever you want here because I also know that I could just funnel something
Yeah.
to Australia and like,
I
you know,
get
what I mean?
I
Like
get what you're
if you
saying
if
because
you
I
did
didn't
that
learn
route,
about it until I was in corporate partnerships when we
right?
had to use that. But I'm knee deep in career and professionalism.
Yeah.
So imagine trying to have a college student. And so I got a question. If there were a class, some consult, let's say your firm, stuff that I'm doing, and they were like, hey, we were on a college campus and like, hey, we're about to, give you these tools for the next semester or even a 4-week program. Honestly, how many athletes you think will sign up for it?
It's not even about signing up. It's who's going to listen because the coaches are going to
That's
force
what I
them to
mean.
sign
That's
up.
what I
They're not.
mean.
They
Like,
don't
who's going to
care.
sit down and listen?
They're not
Yeah.
going to care, right? The only way you can get through to these people is one-on-one, right? Because the kid
Okay.
making 20 grand is going to go, I'm not making enough money for this to matter. And the kid making 200 grand is going, I'm making too much money for this to matter. Like, so what? And the guy making 100 grand is like in that medium limbo where he's like, I don't care. Like why do they really care? It's like a lot of things. Like you see, like you are a product of your environment, like where you come
Yes.
from. If you don't come from a financially stable environment, why do you expect to be financially stable? If your spending habits are taught to you and you learn how this is how I spend money or this is how I should spend money, or you buy into the social media side of things of this is what I should be doing, that's what you're going to do because you think that that's right. So like, why is
So,
me coming in here, man, look at
yeah.
this cheesy guy like telling me to save my money. What I got to save my money for? I'm making 500 grand. I got to save nothing. I made no money last year. Now I'm making $500,000. And next year, when you get hurt and they relinquish your contract, you're making no money. Like,
So it sounds like before we even start giving them the tools, the conscious needs to be shifted on how they even perceive everything. But that's easier said than done because once again, we talk about outside influences. These athletes want to portray the image of a rock star, you know what I mean? And things come fast. So it's like, and if it's not instilled at an early stage, then you're kind of chasing them. And I think that's been the thing that I've been trying to solve is like, man, how do we educate at the same time, not coming off corny, not coming off boring, because I get it, their time is priceless, but at the same time getting them to be able to look in the future and be like, yo, whether you take advantage of this information today, you're going to need it in the future. So put this in your back pocket, because you're
and
going to need it.
and a lot of this sort of stuff is kind of what I do with the consulting. It's I've taken what Coach Kendall said to me all those years ago, said to the whole team, deep interpersonal relationships is the only way to build trust. The quicker you can build a deep interpersonal relationship with somebody, the quicker they will listen to you. So part of what I
Yeah,
do when
it's
I go
true.
through, I think about most recently when I work with U of L volleyball team, the women's volleyball,
Hmm.
phenomenal volleyball team. New head coach comes in. He was there as an assistant coach, takes over, first time head coach, and
Hmm.
one of the first things that he had done was bring me in, and I got to work with all of the players in a one-on-one setting to interview them. And part of what I do is part of the code that I developed with some AI stuff that I do that's kind of on the back end. I'm able to build like a really quick, deep interpersonal relationship with each one of those players. Understand that I understand them. Now they tell me their problems. They tell me what's going on. They tell me where the issues are, and it's not like it's not like therapy in sense. It's more of just like, what is
Bro, it's
the issue
called
here?
mentorship. It's
Yeah,
literally mentorship. You know
literally.
what I mean?
I'm just like, hey,
Which
how can I help
yeah,
you? How can
yeah,
how can I help communicate to the coach that this is
yeah,
how you do the best? You know,
correct.
and with all of that sort of stuff, like I've done that. And that's exactly what's going on here, right? So I'm taking this same approach with the athletes that I want to work with on the agency side. And I'm saying, okay, like I'm going to build a deep interpersonal relationship with these athletes that I want to work with and that I'm going to be selective on. And I want to, kind of get myself in a position where they can trust me or they feel like they can trust me because I'm going to understand them. I'm going to take the time to listen to them and hear them out. But I'm also going to be realistic with them as well because quite frankly, I don't need to do it. And I think that's what makes me powerful in the position that I'm in terms of with the agency side of things, is it's like, I'm not sitting here like, I don't need to have that. I don't need to sign this next person, right? I want to. I want to sign this next person, right? And that puts me in a power position because now in terms of like doing the right thing, because it means I'm going to say what I believe.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm
That
not
makes
gonna I'm
sense.
not gonna like unnecessarily sugarcoat, kind of what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't need to do
But
that.
that's another thing. They'll accept it because you can shoot from the hip when they already trust you and they know that you have their best interest in mind. So now that's when you can be like, yo, you on some bullshit. Like I need you to get your stuff together versus outside coming in and like, who are you? You get what I'm saying? So I
I'm the owner
think
of this house.
exactly like you in my house. You know what I mean? And I don't think the audience understands how important what you just said. Like it is relationships. I think a lot of times us athletes, when we move on, we got our own life and we could start raising our own family. And if you're lucky, you might have somebody in your neighborhood that looked up to you that you could take under your wing. But the rest of us is kind of trying to go and chase our carrot.
Yep.
Versus if I believe it's every ex-athlete can at least take on a dozen kids. You know what I mean? As your own, like, hey, I'm out to help raise these kids and give them all the nuggets and knowledge, and I'm gonna support. I think our culture of athletics can have a better ending story because the middle story is always great. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you're playing. This is all the fun stuff. The beginning story is usually rough. We usually come from, like I said, obscure background, but that middle story is what they gravitate to. But that end, it's tough. And that ending story is much longer. God forbid if you don't take your life too soon. But like that depression, man, that lasts on for decades and decades. You trying to figure it out. You still trying to chase the high of coming out of the tunnel. That lingers on. You trying to find a career that's just as fulfilling as what it was when you were playing. And as much as we try to tell the youth, like, hey, this is coming around the corner, they just can't conceptualize it. But I think, like I said, you hit it on a nail. They can hear it a little bit more if you take them under your wing. It's like, listen, just walk with me on this journey. I'm gonna walk with you, but hear me as as I guide you every step. And I'm glad you shared that because I'm going to go back to that approach. I started with that approach, but I got caught up thinking like how you think, scale versus like, bro, just get great at helping a few people first. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's the only way. The only way as a civilization that we grow,
You're
and
right.
communities that we grow is if how they say like it takes a village.
It does.
It takes a village. It doesn't take a city.
It
Like
doesn't.
you don't need
You're
a
right.
million people, but you need those good 100. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
you need
You're
that
absolutely
good
right.
close circle around you, and that's
Exactly.
that's what it takes. It's not one person that's going to do it, but it's
Yeah.
not 100 people. You know,
It's true.
there
Yep.
is a, there
I
is a, like
agree.
a there is a like a fine amount in the middle there, and it's like, so like you're saying, if every ex athlete is taking 12, or so kids that are going to
Hmm.
take this sort of thing serious, and 12 kids become athletes, and then they all take 12, and
Yeah.
like it's like as time goes on, you change the cultural makeup of a
Yeah.
society. Like
Yeah.
it's like I think that's really
That's
positive,
that's
right?
another thing you will be rewarded if you can cultivate 12 millionaires, they're going to repay you in some kind of way. You know what I mean? Whether it's monetary or just credibility to allow you to continue. It's like, yeah.
And the credibility
Yeah.
side of it is the most
Yeah.
valuable at all times, right?
You're
Like,
absolutely right.
I remember thinking, like, I'm out of college and, like, why would anyone call me for anything? But
Right.
now I'm sitting there realizing, like, hey, I'm just kinda, like, doing my thing, and people call me now and they have questions, and I'm like, "Wait a second, like, I can answer these questions." And then, like, some people just still sit, I always think about, like, playing the joker. I think everybody should you play your cards close and you play the joker, because if people think you're an idiot, they will over explain, and they will also overshare. So sometimes if
Hmm.
you just like play your cards close and you just shut your mouth, like I talk a lot, like I know I talk a lot, and but a lot of times as well, if I need to know something, I'll shut up and I'll let
Hmm.
somebody talk and let them go and let them explain what I need to kind of get out of what's going on, so we can kind of go on from there and kind of move forward. And it's a very calculated thing, but I think that that's a problem solver, a high level problem solver. It's like you got to do those sorts of things to be able to solve these problems, you know.
Yeah.
And that's been super fun, uh, you know, to just kind of like developing that side of things in life, just like as a person, and like as you're meeting people and stuff like that. And then a lot of it comes down to faith as well, like, because you have to have faith in the work that you're doing, that it's going to pay you back, that you're going to be put into the position to be around the people that you want to be around, and these things. And, you need to understand signs when they come up, and you got to understand when to go, when to stop, like all these things. And that gets really difficult. And that's where people, develop their faith more and different things like that, because they want, they need something that's going to help them, kind of like say, hey,
I agree. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. No, no, you hit it on the nail. Well, listen, man, I took more time than you promised me. So thank you for your patience. But I had to keep the conversation going because you were spitting so many nuggets, so many jewels. And I think, like I said, a younger athlete, if they really pay attention to this conversation, they can get enough information and knowledge that will help them achieve and sustain success, well for a full lifetime. But before I let you go, man, two things. One, I want you to share where people can find you and how people can, one, support you, or if they need your services, where they can get you. And then the last thing before I let you go is give one last nugget that you want to drop on the athletic community.
I'm trying to think of my nugget. Well, first of all, I'll say, anybody that wants to reach out to me, I think like Instagram is like a really good one. My Instagram handle is at Flinley, Flinley. I'm obviously like active there. And that's where I'm seeing a lot of stuff and communicating with athletes a lot, on things like that. If I'm mentoring anybody or something of the sort. My consulting business is Luminar Global Consulting, and that's luminarglobalconsulting.com as well.
Repeat that again. I'm sorry. What is it
Luminara,
called?
Luminara Global. Yeah,
Okay.
Luminar Global Consulting. But if somebody hits me up on Instagram, I can throw them in the right direction. Critical Sports and Entertainment is the agency that I partnered up with and that I'm working with now. I'm really excited to see what kind of comes of all of that. Currently, are in a lot of different types of sports as well. So based out in Brooklyn, and doing a lot of combat sports, MMA, amateur boxing, things like that, as well as NBA, WNBA, a lot of NIL kind of focus. And there's a really cool team that our CEO, Gabriel's picking apart and building together. Some amazing advisors and different people, and the resources there is crazy. Which is super exciting to kind of see what comes of all that as it grows and continues to grow. But I'm thinking right now, like, nugget of information that I didn't share throughout already. I think comparison is the thief of all joy. Obviously, I said that one. I think
Yeah.
that's a really, really good one. But in life, often we struggle to see other people's perspective, and that puts us in a position where we are, often beholden to negative emotions, and it brings us down. And again, that kind of relates back into the comparison side of things. When we're down, that creates tough times. And when you think about, like, when you're in a tough time, or something, so adversity has struck, and all this sort of things. I remember one of my coaches used to always say, he's like, tough times, you know, don't last. It's tough people who last.
Hmm.
And I think that is a big, big thing. And that one there kind of reminds me, it's somewhat similar, but it's very interesting. When we get in a spiral, oftentimes people will ask themselves, am I going crazy? And my dad said this to me one time. My dad spent most of my high school life in prison. So he had a lot of time to reflect. And this is like one thing that he had said to me. And I know I'm kind of like saying a lot of things, but it all comes down to this. Crazy people do not ask if they're crazy. So if you have the ability to ask yourself if what I'm doing is crazy, it's not crazy yet, you know? And I think that's the one.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one hit home. Crazy people don't ask if I'm crazy. And if you're wise enough to ask that question, then you're headed in the right direction. Yeah, I'll take that one. Definitely, man. Definitely. Brother, once again, man, I appreciate your time because you're an extremely busy guy, man. I love that you shared your journey, what you got going on, man. Let's definitely keep in touch. This was great. Guys, everybody, I got opportunity to hear Bailey Flint, man. This was another episode of Athlete Mindset Reset, Conversations with Athletes. Until next time, y'all know the deal. Stay positive, stay productive, but most importantly, y'all, stay in presence. And we're out of here.
Thanks for having me.